Hi, Mesoma.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
First, what do you think about periods?
I think periods are normal. I think periods are a natural part of life.
Has this always been your perception regarding it?
Yeah, I have. I've always thought that it was part of our capabilities as women, right? So it's always been a normal thing for me.
What was your first period experience like?
Hmm. My first period experience, it was just after a vacation I had at my auntie's house, and I came back home and I noticed I was stained. And I quickly ran to my mom. She was in the room at the time and she was with her sister. So I quickly ran to her and I'm like, oh, mommy, I think I finally started seeing my periods. And yeah, that was how I started.
So, mommy, I think I'm finally seeing my period. That means you had an idea of what it was before.
Yes, I had a close friend who started her period before me. So we used to read about this. There was this book my auntie gave me, Girl's Guide to Becoming a Teenager. And in the book, I had read about like puberty and like the natural process that was going to happen, right? So my friends and I would usually talk about it. So at the time, we were still very young, we're in primary school. So it's like, not everybody had started, but the one that had started would tell us about it. So yeah, I already knew about it.
So, beyond your friends, did anybody tell you about it beforehand?
Yes, actually, my cousin used to stay in the house with us, and I would see her when she's on her period and everything that came with it, basically.
What came with it?
She had serious. She went through serious pain, severe pain, if I may say. She would always be on the floor. She would be rolling. She would be throwing up. She was never able to be fully comfortable during her period. That was something I noticed. Yeah.
Oh, did that make you feel scared at any point?
It did, because when I started my period, I didn't have any pain. It was just really normal for me. But seeing her go through that, I was scared about how it was going to turn out for me.
So, has that ever changed?
Yeah, it did change. As I grew older, my period started coming with more pains, and it started coming with heavy flow as well. So I would be on my period, and from the very first day, I'm having heavy flow. I'm having serious pain. Like I remember when I was in secondary school, I'd have to bend down whenever I'm on my period because I was so uncomfortable sitting down. So it was that bad. And then I used to have so much pains that I would have to take like different types of medications. So I'm taking Panadol. After 1 hour, if it hasn't stopped, I'm taking Feminax. I'm taking like Felvin. It was always different things. It got to a point where I had to reduce how much I was taking these things so that I'm not taking too much pills, right? But it was so bad that I would be very uncomfortable. I can't sit down on my bed. I can't sit down properly. I'm moving, I'm turning. It was so uncomfortable. So I think I got to the period where I understood why my cousin was feeling the way she was feeling and how unproductive she could be at some point, even though I would try my best to be strong when I'm on my periods and I have that amount of pain. But it was always very, very painful. It's still very painful whenever I have my periods.
Speaking of productivity, how
Yeah.
has that affected your productivity when you're in your periods?
I would say sometimes my period comes out. I think God has been good to me because it will come out maybe during the weekends, right? So let's say it starts on Thursday, and typically when I was in university, my classes end on Thursday. So if it starts on Thursday, I feel that serious pain, and by the weekend, I'm able to just like go through that without being seen or just in my room on my own, right? And also, I try my best whenever I know that I'm going to be on my period. Maybe if I calculate it and it's going to come out maybe next week, I know that from the week before that, I have to reduce my sugar intake. I have to reduce the things I'm eating so that I don't feel as much pain. So that's how I handle it with productivity. And my auntie also told me this thing that helps a lot. So I used to do it a lot of times. If I know my period's going to come out like a week before, I would try to take like Panadol or just painkillers some days before, so it reduces the amount of pain that I feel.
Has that helped?
It has helped, but sometimes it's still bad. With periods, you can never really get to a point where you're able to eradicate the pain completely. So it helps. Sometimes it doesn't help. Sometimes you take like as much painkillers as possible and you still feel the pain. But I think I've been able to handle it with strength. Something my mom would always tell me is that as a woman, these things are like natural. As much as I find that very annoying, because she'll tell you pregnancy pain is going to be a lot worse, and that doesn't really matter. I'm feeling pain right now, right? So I try my best to be strong, but it's still really painful.
So apart from getting, information from your mom and from your auntie,
Yeah.
where else have you sought period information or menstruation information?
I would say when I was in university, I used to go on a lot of period care have a lot of period care conversations, right? So I would hear from what people that maybe my friends, what their experiences have been like. I would also in the course of interacting with people, I would also get to hear what their period experiences have been like. So I think that is how I've been able to draw from conversations. Yeah.
What is your period care experience like?
So one thing I try my best to do is to be very hygienic during my period. I try my best to make sure everywhere is clean, prepare ahead of time. So it helps a lot when I check the calendar and I know when it's going to come up. I'm very, would I say, I'm trying to be too clean during my periods because I feel very uncomfortable sometimes. So if I take my bath in the morning, I won't take my shower like in the evening again, that kind of stuff.
Okay. So how has that affected your relationship with other people during your periods?
I would not say it has affected my relationship with people because I try my best to reduce my interaction with people during my periods, especially because of how painful the first 2 days are. So during the first 2 days, I'm probably in my room by myself, unless I have to go out and I just act like it's normal, right? Because I'm not going to go out and show the whole world that, oh, I'm on my period and yes, I feel this way.
How would you say others, could navigate that when they're in that position, when they're having their periods and they have to interact with the world and it's unavoidable?
I would say try as much as possible to do something that relieves that pain before you get to interact with people. So if it means I really always hold my hot water bottle tight. So if I'm about to go out, I make sure that I've placed it on my belly for a long time. So I think I should the blood level should have reduced before I want to go out. So I just try my best to make sure that the pain has reduced to a substantial amount. If it means carrying like the drug in my bag, so if I start to feel a certain way, I take like one painkiller just to relieve myself, but I try my best to act as much as possible. So I would say try your best to just put up a strong upfront and try to be strong, because it's part of the experiences that we face as women, undoubtedly, and you just have to be strong, I guess. Be strong, and you'll be fine.
Do you think that being strong is good advice?
You can be strong, and you can also and it doesn't take away the fact that you're feeling the pain, right? So as much as possible, if you need to let it out that you're feeling the pain, because sometimes pain is really bad, like nobody's going to take it away from you. It's really bad. I feel very uncomfortable, like I can't sit down, I can't lie down, I'm turning, like it's very uncomfortable. But some other times you just have to go with it, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? So you have to go with the flow. If you need to express the emotions that you're feeling, do it. Nobody's going to take it away from you. It's painful. So what somebody else feels is not what I would feel. What I feel is not what somebody else would feel. So nobody can tell you that your pain is not as painful as it is. So if you need to express your emotions, make sure you're expressing your emotions.
Speaking of pain, have you ever had to, because of your menstrual pain, seek medical help? Like professional medical help?
No, actually, by the grace of God, I've never had to seek any professional help.
Okay. So, Masoma, what would you say has been something that has stood out for you beyond pain now in your experience as a woman that, has had menstrual periods?
I would say the heavy flow, because I've always had heavy flow. I think right from when I was young, it was always heavy flow. And I think one thing that has also remained consistent is the number of days that I have my period for. So it hasn't exceeded 5 days. It's always been 5 days, and it's probably always towards the end of the month. So yeah.
Speaking of heavy flow, have you had situations of getting stain days usually, or women getting stained and all of that because of your heavy flow, or how have you managed that?
Yes, I have gotten stained a couple of times, and I think what has helped me over the years is trying to get a pad that is as long as I need it to be. So I started using Aya pads recently, and it has a really long texture. The pads are really long, so that helps me a lot. Also, my mom would usually say if you're having too much like of a heavy flow, cotton wool always helps. But I've never used that before. I always stick to long pads that soak a lot more. So yeah.
Okay. How did you deal with it when you got stained?
Um, these days I try my best to always have a shawl with me when I'm on my period, so I can at least use that to cover myself up. But the first time I got stained, and somebody had to tell me, it was in secondary school. I think I was preparing for GC, and I was stained, and a male friend of mine. I think that was the first time I felt weird about it because he came and he's like, "Soma, I think you're stained. I think you should." No, he didn't say I think you're stained. He said, "I think you should go to the restroom." And I went to the restroom and I saw that I was stained, and I felt so very uncomfortable. But I think he already had sent someone to help me get pad because he knew what it was that I was, what was happening. So yes, that was what happened when I first got stained.
Why do you think you felt uncomfortable?
I felt uncomfortable because it was a guy telling me that I was stained. Before, as at that time, I would feel weird about guys telling me things like that or having a conversation like that with guys. But the person in question was someone who had an older sister, so I'm sure he felt it was normal.
Why do you think, you felt weird about the fact that it was a guy?
I think because I know that guys are not. Most guys are not familiar with the whole concept of periods, and yeah, so I felt weird about that, and I just felt like it wasn't okay. I think I was still very young then, so I felt like it wasn't okay, a guy knowing that I was on my period, or basically because I always tried to put up that like closed up front, so it felt weird then. But I think right now I think it's very much normal for a guy to tell me that I'm stained, or for a guy to be knowledgeable about periods and what they entail.
What do you think has changed between then and now? Okay, between being uncomfortable about a guy telling you are stained and now that you
I think what has changed is my knowledge about periods and the need to create or drive more awareness about it. At the time, I think the perception came from what my mom had told me, like, oh, now you need to be more conscious of guys and all of that. But now it's more from the place of I know that there should be more awareness about women being comfortable in their periods.
So what would you say is your covered story?
I would say my covered story is one of strength, one of strength in embracing everything that comes with periods and just dealing with it.
If you could say something to Summer then that was just starting her period, what would it be?
I would tell her it's perfectly okay to have the kind of flow that you have, or to have the nature of the of periods that you have, and just be strong, and you deal with everything that comes with it.